The head of Oklahoma Public Education was at the Capitol this week, putting in his request for a $4 billion budget, roughly the same as last year's. In his presentation, State Superintendent Lyndall Fields likened schools to cars and his requested budget to gasoline.
What we're asking for, I believe, is that steady supply of gasoline that we can get into the cars, the catalyst to help those cars, our schools, run safely and effectively. It's not high octane, it's not jet fuel, it's good, steady gasoline.
Your report on slide.
That's State Superintendent Lyndall Fields speaking to lawmakers this week, and he joins us on Oklahoma Chronicle. Thanks so much. Happy to have you back here.
I was so glad to be back. I really enjoy your show, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, so I watched through your presentation, the budget being what it is, and it's a lot of money every year. I mean, we're now topping, you're asking for just a tad bit more than $4 billion,
right?
Which sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. Yeah. It's also not much more than what you asked for last year, and the difference, I understand it, is just keeping up with the increased cost of health benefits for teachers, something that you really wanted to maintain. What was your goal when you wanted to put together this budget? And then I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah, that's a fair question. Well, you know, a budget that was fiscally responsible, that would meet the needs of what we need for education in Oklahoma. The flex benefit allowance is just keeping up with the cost of insurance, and we want to make sure we invest in that. And then I felt that was the budget I could confidently propose based upon what I've learned at the agency and what I believe will comfortably cover the priorities that we've outlined.
You talked a lot, and you like speaking in metaphors,
sure,
which I enjoy. And you talked about Indiana football, about how dominant they were, but said that they were so dominant because they were really good at the fundamentals.
That's right.
And you said that you would like our schools and the department and everything to be really good at those fundamentals. And once you get those down, then you can start doing the more complicated plays that you're talking about, like perhaps the literacy efforts that so many people are talking about, including right here on this program. When you say the fundamentals from your perspective, you're not just talking about reading, writing, and arithmetic. You're talking about from an agency standard, correct? And setting up your schools for success?
Yes, that's exactly right. When you think about fundamentals, reading, writing, arithmetic, fundamentals, but I'm talking about the basics that have to be in place to ensure plays, I call those plays, like the new reading literacy that we're looking at, can be successful, the X's and the O's. So back to the metaphors, if you're a football team and you want to throw a halfback pass, you have to make sure the line's blocking good. So we have to make sure that we're taking care of the basics before we can run complicated plays.
And that is, as you talked about it, teacher pay.
That's
and you did say that you are concerned because you put up how Oklahoma is compared to our neighboring states. And Oklahoma, when it comes to the average teacher pay, as you pointed out, is actually very competitive right now, especially when you factor in cost of living. First year salaries, however, you said is something that you would be open to perhaps improving in the near future. I did say that. So you made an important distinction competitively for our average salary. But as we look at the number of teachers leaving and building that pipeline, I believe that a salary is a barrier to entry, and we can't help but compare ourselves to Arkansas and Texas that have a much higher first-year salary than our state does. So I think looking at that might help us be more competitive for those starting teachers. What's another fundamental that you think that this budget is going to make sure that Oklahoma is set up properly for?
Yeah, so I also believe strongly that we need to provide training for our teachers, training for our principals. We talk a lot about teacher training. It's important, but the culture starts with the leader. And I want to make sure our leaders are trained up good in all of our schools. And then most importantly, the number one priority, I think, is safety in our schools. The legislature has funded SROs, security measures in the schools over the last 3 years, and that particular funding has expired. So I think that's paramount to.
And when you say SROs, that's officers on
yes,
campus
good point.
In the schools.
School resource officers is what some call them. So yeah, having safe, secure schools. Again, a fundamental. We've got to take care of that before we can run the plays.
Sure. You know, it's interesting, and kind of the big question that I had, because the budget, aside from the increased insurance benefit cost, it's flat from what it was last year, and it had me thinking, just because we've had on this program, we've had in the state chamber leader who said now's the time, people are getting behind this push to raise literacy rates, and it's going to involve an investment. We've had Senator Adam Pugh sitting where you're sitting saying, yes, we are ready to do this. People on the Democratic side, of course, are saying we're ready to spend the more money. And so personally, when you came out and you said it's a flat budget except for these increased health insurance costs, I was surprised because I was thinking, if there ever was a time in which you have the wind at your back in the sails propelling you, if there ever was a time to ask a conservative supermajority legislature for more money, it seems like this year might be it, specifically with this literacy plan. And so why not go bigger on your financial ask here in your first year?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have to ask ourselves what has worked in the past. So when I look at our priorities, I'm looking at what we can accomplish. There are some opportunities within our current budget with slight adjustments to the legislation that can allow us, for example, to work with first-year teachers' salaries from an existing pot of money. And I want to be clear, I support that legislation. All of our priorities line up with legislation that has been presented to us, and we're doing physical impact studies on all that legislation. So as we look at the bills that have been filed by Speaker Hilbert for literacy, we're putting the fiscal impact together. So we'll work with the legislature. It's their prerogative to increase the budget. So we'll support those endeavors that support our priorities. So I think you'll see an increase to the education budget.
So what you're asking for, if I'm understanding this correctly, you're asking for, hey, listen, this is what we need.
Right.
And then anything else you want to do on top of that is something that we will support?
If it lines up, yeah.
Because these literacy goals, they are a big investment.
They are.
So it would require more money, or would it work within the existing budget that you're asking for?
Yeah, great question. So I think the literacy goals, we're just now looking at the bills, what they're wanting to do would require an additional investment. So we have some literacy work going on with our HEROES program, and so that's actually expiring this year too. So we need to fund that. And then anything on top of that would require an additional investment. So I think we'd have to look, let's say, if we want to put literacy coaches in all the elementary schools, what would that look like? Or can we only afford to do half, for example? So I think it depends on how big we want to go.
How big do we want to go?
Well, I think if we want to make a significant impact, we have to eventually get to the point where we do have some type of literacy professional inside every school coaching teachers. So whatever that looks like.
You're having conversations with lawmakers right now. They're picking your brain. I know that you're asking them questions.
Sure.
Do you feel like they're at a point where right now we could see impactful legislation to make some of these investments?
Based upon the early conversations we've had, I believe they're very serious about it, and I do think you'll see some legislation. I'm hopeful that we'll see some legislation in those areas. So yes, I'm optimistic.
Aside from that, how are you enjoying the job? I know you're still the new guy on campus, so to speak.
I don't know how long the new guy is going to last. We're almost 4 months in now. I feel like we're to a point where being strategic, not only at SDE, but across the state. We've been traveling and going to schools and events and just communicating and building relationships. So that's been fun, but we're to a place now that we're starting to get some margin where we can, I think, be strategic in how we're operating. So I'm enjoying it.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad. What is your concern? Obviously, we're coming out of this week where school's been shut down for so many schools for so many days. Parents, really want those kids in school as much as possible, and I'm sure you want the same thing.
Sure.
Do you have concerns about when weather shuts down schools for multiple days? Not that there is anything that you personally can do about that, but what is your thoughts as you've watched what, the schools being down?
I was a superintendent for a long time.
So you had to deal with this, huh?
I did. And it's calling off school is a big decision. I don't think people really realize what goes into it. It's not just, do we close school down? You have bus routes and maintenance and clearing parking lots and food deliveries and spoilage and so many things. hey, nobody likes a snow day more than me. You know, one, maybe not two, none of three. The kids are getting stir crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And we're behind, in instruction. So we want to get kids back. But the reality is, safety is the bottom line.
Right.
Until the neighborhoods get clear and the buses can run, the school leaders are making decisions for the kids that they love those kids, and they're working in their best interest. So I think we all want to get back. One, maybe two, but it's a lot.
Yeah, I understand.
Sure.
Superintendent Lyndall Fields, you made time for us this week, and I appreciate you for that.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. Good to see you.
Good to see you.